Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the 8th overall spot. Using Sleeper, the roster positions for today's mock are going to be 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, flex kicker, defense, and 5 bench spots. But before we can get on into this mock draft, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. So without further ado, let's get into this 12-team PPR mock draft from the 8th overall spot. So the draft begins with Ja'Marr Chase, followed by Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, Puka Nacua, Bijan Robinson, Justin Jefferson, and CD Lamb. Now, Puka Nacua going at the 104 is definitely an outlier. Knowing that Matthew Stafford should be good to go, though, based upon recent reports, does definitely make me feel confident in drafting Puka Nacua inside of the first round. But frankly, when Justin Jefferson as well as CD Lamb were both available, I do think that definitely is a reach in my opinion. But outside of Puka going at the 104, I definitely think this is a very normal first 7 picks. And honestly, if you just took Puka and put him at the 1.07, it would make a whole lot more sense. So we are up on the clock here. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malik Neighbors, Derrick Henry, Ashton Genty, Nico Collins, Christian McCaffrey, BTJ, Devon Achane are the best players available on the board right now, according to Sleeper. Now, to me, this is a pick between 2 players. It would either be Christian McCaffrey or Malik Neighbors. Christian McCaffrey, to me, is definitely more of the risk, right? We have seen this guy get injured a couple of times over his career, but when the guy is healthy, he is one of the best, if not the best, running backs in fantasy football. Malik Neighbors is obviously on a team that isn't the best. They are honestly one of the worst teams in the NFL, but he did get a quarterback upgrade in the offseason. Russell Wilson definitely better than the quarterbacks that were trotting out there last season for the Giants, and Jackson Dart looked pretty good in preseason. Jameis Winston is, well, Jameis Winston. So whoever the quarterback is, you know Malik Neighbors is going to get fed. Since we have taken Christian McCaffrey in a couple of the more recent mocks, we will start off with a wide receiver and go with Malik Neighbors. He's currently listed as questionable. He was not on track to play on Saturday with a shoulder injury, but to me, it doesn't really appear to be something super serious. And I believe that if this was a game yesterday, say yesterday's preseason game was on Sunday, it was a real regular season game, Malik Neighbors probably would have played. So I'm not really worried at all about that until we get some news that would be negative towards that. Then, of course, we got to worry. But right now, I'm definitely confident in drafting Malik Neighbors as a top 5 wide receiver. He is my wide receiver number 5 behind Ja'Marr Chase, CD Lamb, Justin Jefferson. Actually, he's my wide receiver 4. It's Ja'Marr Chase, CD Lamb, Justin Jefferson, all in the S tier, and then Malik Neighbors is the headliner in the 2nd tier. So after Malik Neighbors, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Derrick Henry, Ashton Genty, Christian McCaffrey, BTJ, Brock Bowers, Nico, Cousin, Let's Go Bowling Collins, as well as Devon Achane. I was definitely hoping that Devon Achane would fall to me inside of the 2nd round at the 2.5. But it seems like a lot of people are catching wind of the upside that Devon Achane has. So him not falling to us obviously sucks because I wanted him on my team. But there really is no reason to panic just because Achane didn't fall to us. We saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wide receivers in the first round and 6 running backs, perfectly balanced as all things should be. Shout out to Thanos. So best players on the board right now would be Drake London, AJ Brown, Bucky Irving. I don't know why I just had a spaz attack trying to read Bucky Irving's name. Josh Jacobs, Josh Allen, Lad McConkey, Jonathan Taylor, and Lamar Jackson. So looking at the running backs, Kyren, Chase Brown also available, but I don't think we need to take either of those guys inside of the 2nd round. Since we took Malik Neighbors at the 1.8, I think the smart move in a league where you can only start 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex, not a league where I could be firing up 4 wide receivers every single week with 3 wide receivers and a flex, or 2 wide receivers and 2 flexes. I think the smart move would be to quote-unquote reach on the next running back. My next highest ranked running back behind all the guys that are already off of the board would be Josh Jacobs. I think Bucky Irving would be a fine pick here as well. A lot of people have kind of tried to be negative on Josh Jacobs because he can't possibly score that amount of touchdowns again, right? Because last season we did see Josh Jacobs build a home, a palatial estate inside of the end zone, despite the fact that he came out the gate incredibly cold. I really do believe that the Green Bay Packers are going to be a great offense this year. I think if Jordan Love Me Tender, Love Me Sweet is able to stay healthy, then there's no reason why Josh Jacobs can't potentially lead the NFL in terms of touchdowns. He is not the most prolific pass catching back out there, but he has pass catching upside. So to me, Josh Jacobs will be the pick here. With the injury of Rachaad White, though, and him potentially missing some time, I think you can move up Bucky Irving into that spot ahead of Josh Jacobs. I wouldn't argue with you too much, but I do have Josh Jacobs ranked higher. If you wanted to go with Bucky Irving, that would be fine. Now, if this was a 2 wide receiver, 2 flex, or 3 wide receiver, 1 flex, I probably would have went with Drizzy, Drake London here and started off with Malik Neighbors and Drake London, who I think both have the ability to be the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy football this year. But since once we come back around, right, I've done so many of these fantasy drafts, I know at the 3.8, I probably will not love the running backs that are available for them to be my running back number 1 in a league structured like this. So we'll go ahead and grab Josh Jacobs. I was big onto Josh Jacobs last season. It ended up paying dividends, and I think you should be on Josh Jacobs yet again. After Josh Jacobs, Ladd McConkey, Jonathan Taylor, A.J. Brown, Drizzy, Drake London, Bucky Irving, Lamar Jackson, and JSN closing out the second round. The third round opens with Josh Allen, Higgins, Trey McBride, Breece Hall, Tyreek Hill, Chase Brown, and Garrett Wilson. So falling to us here is Kyren Williams. Now, if Kyren Williams is available in your home league, I am taking him here every single time. The man just got paid. I don't give a fuck that Blake Corum scored, 2 touchdowns yesterday in preseason. Kyren Williams is still the lead back on the team. He might lead the running backs in the NFL in terms of snaps. They paid him because they heavily believe in him. This guy is a touchdown monster. Every year they try to talk down, oh, he can't possibly score this many touchdowns again. And then you know what he does? He slaps you Will Smith style. He bitch slaps you front hand, backhand. Shout out to Key and Peele. And Kyren Williams just continues to find pay dirt. He is on an elite offense, especially with Matthew Stafford healthy. Sean McVay is an absolute genius, boy wonder. So I think Kyren Williams would be a smash here. Now, we are going to talk about a different pick as well, because some people might say, Nick, it's impossible for Kyren Williams to be available in the 3rd round in my home league, even though I don't think it's all that crazy for a guy like Chase Brown or Breece Hall to get drafted ahead of him. Now, if Kyren Williams wasn't here, I wouldn't just go down and pick the next best running back available, because A, James Cook is holding out, and B, we just talked about how I don't think Kyren Williams' touchdown production is going to fall off. I think James Cook's touchdown value is going to fall off the edge of the earth. That's not a guy that plays a shit ton of snaps game in and game out. He played under 50% of the snaps for the Buffalo Bills last season. I think James Cook has bust written all over him. So I'm definitely going to go ahead and not take a running back if I didn't go with Kyren. At wide receiver, I'm kind of worried about the fact that I don't really trust Kyler at all. And I don't really trust the system around Marvin Harrison, but Marvin Harrison is so fucking good that it's hard for me to avoid him. And if I wasn't going to go with a running back, George Kittle probably would be the pick here, just because I really do think George Kittle has the upside to be the tight end number 1 in this 49ers offense. But we are going to go with Kyren Williams. He does fall to us here. But if you want to be like, Nick, that's unrealistic, then you just take Kyren Williams out of our lineup and put George Kittle there instead. After Kyren Williams, Mike Evans, Jaden, Stormy Daniels, his teammate, or maybe not his teammate for much longer, Scary Terry McLaurin, Jalen, stop, it hurts, James Cook, Rashee Rice, George Kittle, and Joe Shiesty back up on the clock here. And also, if you didn't want to go with George Kittle there, say you really wanted running back, I would be perfectly fine taking Omarion Hampton at the 3.8. He is not going there right now based upon sleeper ADP. But by the time you guys do your draft, if you're drafting in late August, early September, I promise you, Omarion Hampton will be available in 0 leagues where you're drafting with people that have enough brain cells to rub together. Now, maybe if you're just playing in your friend's league, or maybe you're playing with your family and none of them watch football, they just play fantasy football, and you put belt to ass every single year because they have no idea what they are doing. Sure, maybe in that small percentage of leagues, Omarion Hampton will be there. But even then, I think Omarion Hampton's ranking is going to move up the sleeper, the ESPN, the Yahoo, far enough to where you wouldn't even be able to get him inside the 4th round. So I'm not going to take him here because I do believe that it would be very unrealistic. With Matthew Stafford seemingly back, Davante Adams is a guy that I am going to continue to key in on now that I feel even more confident about the availability of quarterback Matthew Stafford. Davante Adams was able to put up big seasons with a team that was as shit as the Raiders. He was able to play well last year with the Jets, despite the Jets being a complete and utter dumpster fire. He was putting up huge years with Aaron Rodgers, so you better believe he is going to continue that great success, shout out to Borat, in LA with the Rams with Matthew Stafford. Some people might have a problem with drafting 2 guys on the Rams. My rebuttal to that would be, would you like to draft 2 guys on a great offense? I would. Now, would I like to draft 2 guys on the Giants, right? Every week, rely on Malik Neighbors and Juan Dale, Mr. 305, Wan'Dale Robinson? The answer to that would be a resounding fuck no, baby. But I don't mind drafting 2 players on offenses that I believe are going to be good. Yes, it is much more volatile on a weekly basis because if the Rams shit the bed, then probably Davante Adams and Kyren Williams are going to form an Eiffel Tower over your fantasy football team. But ultimately, the upside is too high for me to avoid that. So I'm definitely fine taking 2 guys on the LA Rams. After Davante Adams, Maserati Marv, DK Metcalf, Alvin Kamara, Sam Laporta, Omarion, Chris Breeze, Hampton, Chuba Hubbard, Joe Mixon. The 5th opens with Xavier Worthy, Wiki, DJ Moore, Devontae Smith, Kenneth Walker the 3rd, James Conner, David Montgomery, and Tet McMillan. Team number 7 doesn't give a singular fuck that you can only start 3 wide receivers. They don't care. They're swinging their cock around Indiana Jones like he has his whip, and they don't care, even though that is an absolutely terrible draft strategy. Now, if you're in a league where you can start 5 wide receivers, go right ahead and start with 5 wide receivers. I think that's perfectly fine in a half PPR or full PPR league, but when you can't even start 2 of your first 5 picks, that is some terrible decision-making. I don't even understand how Sleeper programmed the bots to actually do that, even though I think Tet McMillan's a perfectly acceptable pick at the 5.7. That man looked really good in preseason action. I know he dropped that touchdown, but he looked like he probably would have caught that in a real game. 99% of the time, he would have caught that, in my opinion, based on what I saw out of Arizona, so I'm not going to call him a bust off of 1 drop. Before we make our pick here, though, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog and sign up using promo code Notorious, you will receive a free pick plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash, as well as receiving my draft guide sent to your email the very next day. Half PPR and full PPR rankings on there. If you don't know what Underdog is, it's the best part about fantasy football. It's the draft, and that's it. There's no waivers, no trades, and no in-season management. Underdog automatically puts the highest scores into your lineup at the end of every single week. Their biggest contest, Best Ball Mania, $25 to enter, $2 million to first place, $15 million in total prize. They also have smaller entry contest as well. The Puppy 3 right now is running for just $5, $100,000, I believe, to first place. So make sure you guys do check that out. And if you don't want to go on Underdog, you can also get my draft guide on Patreon, link in the video description, for $12.50, and that is going to be updated constantly. So with our start of this draft being Malik Neighbors, Josh Jacobs, Kyren Williams, and Davante Adams, I love our running back core, so there's really no need to reach for our RB3 here. I like Trayvon Henderson as much as the next guy. I love Isaiah Pacheco. Makes me happy. Shout out to Simple Jack, but ultimately, I don't think I need to reach for them there, and I would be a lot more comfortable going with a wide receiver. Now, after the big 3 at the tight end position go, Brock Bowers, George Kittle, and Trey McBride, I don't really feel like I need to reach into the bag and select Hockenson. Even though I love Hockenson a ton this year, or Sam Laporta, who already went at the 4.9. I don't really feel as though I need to force myself to draft one of them when I'm perfectly fine waiting till a couple rounds later and scooping up Mark Andrews or scooping up Evan Ingram, who I think are in a similar tier. They are in my same tier as Laporta, as Kittle. So I definitely think, why reach up here in the 5th round when I could get some great value later on in the draft? So we are going to end up going with a wide receiver here. If Courtland Sutton was here at the 5.8, to me, that's kind of a no-brainer pick, the number 1 wide receiver in a Sean Payton offense that I expect to be very good. He did have a great finish to the season. He finished very strong, which is a great indicator, in my opinion, that he is going to end up having a much better season this year, a very consistent season. But to me, I don't think it's very likely that he would be available. So we'll go with a different option. Again, I try to keep these mock drafts as realistic as possible. So again, like if Kyren wouldn't have went there, if you're like, Nick, Kyren's never going to 3.8, that's why I told you to just replace him with George Kittle or with Omarion Hampton. So we're going to go ahead here and take our next highest ranked wide receiver, which technically doesn't go until much later. That would be Calvin Ridley, and hopefully we could scoop him up later. But we're going to go with an upside shot here on George Pickens. George Pickens definitely has struggled throughout his time in Pittsburgh. But now it's a different team, different environment, and sure, do I love what Jerry Jones has done with the Cowboys? No. No one with a sane mind likes what that motherfucker does for the Cowboys, but bringing in George Pickens is a great addition next to CeeDee Lamb. With Dak Prescott in this offense, I think George Pickens has very big upside weekly and may become a much more consistent player in this Dallas Cowboys offense, because when Dak is healthy, frankly, he is a very good quarterback until it turns to the playoffs, and then the guy will probably throw like 17 interceptions. After George Pickens, Travis Hunter, Courtland Sutton, Patrick Mahomes, RJ Harvey, Zay Flowers, Jamison Williams, Isaiah Pacheco, and Aaron Jones. I know some people are going to be in the comment section, Nick, you're a Dolphins fan. You can't say shit about the Dallas Cowboys. I know the Dolphins are basically the Cowboys if they were on a beach. So now we're back up on the clock here. Best player available would be Hawkinson, Trayvon Henderson, Travis Kelce, Jalen Waddle, Baker Mayfield. I kind of feel a similar way about quarterback as I do with tight end. I like Baker Mayfield a ton, so if you want to go with Baker here, I like Bo Nix a ton. But I'm also fine just punting and picking Dak Prescott later, or Brock Purdy, or waiting even later, and sure, maybe it's a little bit more of a risk, but drafting a guy like Justin Fields, who has that crazy rushing upside. We all know how important rushing upside is in fantasy football for quarterbacks, whether it's 4-point passing touchdown or 6-point passing touchdown. So I'm fine punting quarterback and tight end for a little bit longer. And we're going to go ahead and pick up Trayvon Henderson. The man took the kickoff return to the crib in preseason action. This is a guy that there is still worries for me. It has nothing to do with Trayvon Henderson's ability. There are still worries for me about how much the team is going to use Ramondre Stevenson because of the fact that Josh McDaniels has notoriously utilized a double running back system, right? He doesn't just go with the bell cow back. He likes to run the RBBC, the running back by committee of death, which potentially could nick Trayvon Henderson in the ass, but he should be a great pass catching running back for the team. He was running absolutely dialed in routes in the training camp footage that I saw. He was just butt naked inside the end zone, wide open. So I think Trayvon Henderson will gain playing time. But again, if like week 1, would I love having Henderson in my lineup? Probably not, because I'd like to see what they actually do in the regular season before I have to jolt him in there. But based upon our roster construction, we do not have to do that. So after Trayvon Henderson, Travis Kelce, Jalen Waddle away, Waddle, till the very next day. Jerry Jeudy, Tony Pollard, I want a bad bitch. Jordan Addison-Ray, Quinshon Judkins, TJ Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift, Calvin Ridley, Baker Mayfield, Bo Nix, Chris Olave, Caleb Johnson, and Brian Robinson. I thought Caleb Johnson looked pretty solid in his preseason debut for the NFL. Jordan Addison gets smacked with the right hand of a 3-game suspension for what occurred, I believe, last offseason. Does it make me completely fade Jordan Addison? No, but I also don't necessarily love my 6th round pick missing the first couple of games of the season. Definitely high upside, though. Definitely a guy that scores a lot of touchdowns. Quinshon Judkins, there's no way that I'm drafting him in the 6th round. I'm probably just not going to draft him at all. The fact that he still hasn't signed with the team is just a clear indication that you should not be drafting him at all right now, unless, sure, maybe he falls to the 12th round and you want to take the shot on him. But even then, it's far from a guarantee that he even plays a snap of football for the Browns this season. Chris Olave, I'm starting to kind of open up to selecting him more. But there's definitely just that clear injury risk baked in, but at least it's baked into his ADP, so you don't have to draft him like the 3rd round, because you know the talent's there. But not only is there injury risk, there's also the fact that I don't think the quarterback position is very good in New Orleans at all, and that's definitely a huge red flag for me. Now up at the 7.8, if Mark Andrews fell to me, I would 100% pick him. I think this is pretty realistic, unless in your league a tight end run occurs, which does happen sometimes where, right, after the big 3 are gone, then someone takes Kittle, right? Because Kittle's a part of the big 3, so he's typically the 3rd one off. Then someone takes Laporta or Hawkinson, and then people start to panic, and then you see like 2 picks later, Hawkinson, couple picks after that, Kelsey, and then you might get buried on a guy like Mark Andrews, but this is where he should go. Now, if Mark Andrews, say, is already off the board, you're like, Nick, it's unrealistic, then I would be perfectly fine taking Evan Ingram here with this pick as well. I love Evan Ingram a ton this season. I understand that last year in Jacksonville wasn't necessarily the best, but he did have some solid years in Jacksonville, and I feel like he's the number 2 weapon behind Cortland Sutton in this offense. Now, they obviously have Marvin Mims. They have Tim Patrick, who's just gotten the gawk 9,000 special, the Dick Suckaroo by Sean Payton, describing him as like the quote-unquote Michael Thomas type of deal in this offense. We'll see. We'll see, but I definitely think Evan Ingram is the number 2 weapon on this team, so I wanted to go with Mark Andrews. I picked Evan Ingram. I technically have Mark Andrews ahead of Evan Ingram, but Evan Ingram definitely would have been there at the 7.8, so I'm fine taking him as well. I have them ranked right behind each other, so I think that's fine. I'm not going to just ditch this whole video because I took Evan Ingram over Mark Andrews because I like them both a ton. The case for Mark Andrews ahead of Evan Ingram would be that Isaiah Likely is hurt and will probably miss the first few games of the season, and even if he's back, it won't be him at 100%. Now, I am as much of a doctor as Johnny Sin, so take this with a grain of salt, but typically when a player suffers an injury like that, it does take some time for them to ramp up, and Mark Andrews, sure, he ended up fumbling the bag, dropping the ball at the end of the season, ultimately putting the dagger into the back of the Baltimore Ravens. I still do believe that he does have pretty big upside, and once he got healthy last year, because he did have surgery during the 2023 season, I believe in like November. So once he started to get healthy, he was really cooking. So I still trust Mark Andrews. So after Evan Ingram, Roma Dunze, Jacoby Myers, Jalen Warren, Mark Andrews, Tyrone Tracy, Khalil, Shakira, Deebo Samuel, and Chris Godwin. The fact that Chris Godwin just isn't being more faded really concerns me, but I don't think people are ready to fully move off of him. So we get concrete evidence that he's going to be on the PUP, missing the first couple games of the season. Right now, I think people are kind of just playing the, oh, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope he ends up being the wide receiver 2 in this offense. I hope that he's fully healthy to start the season. I think that is some hopium that you're taking, but hey, it's still August 10th as I'm recording today's video, so there's still a possibility that he is good to go. Stefon Diggs, in line to play Friday. Knee wasn't spotted in uniform. He's dealing with an injury. No need to really worry, though, in my opinion, because there's nothing that is indicated that this is going to hold him out long term. So Stefon Diggs, wide receiver 1 on the New England Patriots. I like that. Drake May has been getting a whole lot of hype in this offseason by a lot of fantasy players. A lot of fantasy analysts have been just frothing at the mouth to talk about how much they love Drake May, right? They love Drake May, but for some reason, despite all of the sucky that they're giving Drake May, no one is really hyping up Stefon Diggs, which makes no sense to me. So after Stefon Diggs, Travis Etienne, who did operate as the RB1 in Jacksonville, I'm still hesitant to just see one preseason game and just put all my eggs in the basket of that. But that is positive if you're part of the ETN hive. Another positive note from that game was that when the starters were in, Travis Hunter played a majority of the snaps on offense and didn't play a single snap with the starters on defense. So very bullish towards the offensive ability of Travis Hunter. And I don't know if I called him Trayvon Henderson. I hope I didn't, but if I did, I was talking about Travis Hunter. So after Travis Etienne, Jawan Jennings, Tyler Warren, Cooper Kupp, Jaden Riley Reed, who is now a walking boot. Yikes. David Njoku, his teammate, Matthew Golden Scar, Cam, I'm a scat man, bop, billy, pop. Cam Skataboo, Ricky Pearsall, Ricky Rolex, Emeka Egbuka, Jonnu Smith, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, the pervert, and the short king, the king of Call of Duty, the king of COD like Bryce I, Kyler Murray. If anyone got that reference, probably watched Call of Duty videos back in like 2010, 2012. So we're back up on the clock here. We still don't have a quarterback, but we realistically would not panic here. Who has a quarterback? Team 1 does, Team 2 does, Team 3, Team 4, Team 5, Team 6, Team 7, Team 9, 10, 11, and 12. They all have quarterbacks. Now, it's very important to know your league in this scenario. If you've been in your league for a while, you will have a big advantage in this spot. Because you will know, are these dumb fucks that are drafting behind me going to take a second quarterback? In some leagues, despite the fact that these guys all drafted a quarterback 5th round or earlier, they may end up taking a backup quarterback. It happens all the time because they already filled out their whole lineup. They've got their 2 running backs. They got their 2 wide receivers. They got their tight end. They got their quarterback. They got their flex. So now it's time to get the backup quarterback. Even though when you draft Jaden Daniels, when are you ever going to play Brock Purdy or whoever you would draft in this range? Still, people do it. I think that is one of the biggest mistakes fantasy football players make every single year. And so it is a big advantage to kind of know that, right? Because if you know, or you've got a feeling, you're hooked on a feeling, that you're going to end up seeing another quarterback get taken, then you just snag whoever your favorite would be here, which would be either like Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, Justin Fields. Me, I don't think they should take a quarterback here. I know in a lot of my home leagues, though, that might end up happening. I may end up getting swindled and feeling like a straight up buffoon here. So we have 3 running backs right now. We have 4 wide receivers. Looking at the running backs available in this range, I think if we were to go running back, it would be Jordan Mason, pretty clearly. Over the rest, I love Tajay Spears, but he is dealing with the ankle sprain. Not good at all. Could miss the start of the season. Again, I'm as much of a doctor as Johnny Sins, but that's a worry. That would bump up Tony Pollard slightly in my rankings, but I still do think ultimately when both are healthy, they do want to use the 1A, 1B approach. So I'm going to go ahead and draft Jordan Mason here and then pick up some more late round talent at the wide receiver position. Jordan Mason, again, we just talked about the 1A, 1B approach in Tennessee. That kind of seems like the approach, a true 50-50 split with Minnesota. They're talking about using Jordan Mason more on the goal line. So Aaron Jones has fallen down my rankings recently due to those updates, and it has risen Jordan Mason up a little bit. Still not completely sold on Jordan Mason, but I do think inside the 9th round, that's a fine pick. After Jordan Mason, Darnell, here comes the Mooney, Javonte Williams, Brandon Ayuk, Josh Downs, Dickie Dak Prescott, Najee Harris, Michael Pittman Jr., as well as Dalton Kincaid. So just as I suspected, someone's going to take a backup quarterback, even though they took Jalen Hurts in the 3rd round. And again, you might be like, Nick, these are bots. Bots do stupid things. Real life people do this. People do this all of the time, and it makes legitimately no sense. So we do want to get our quarterback here, and we're going to go with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. I'm not going to sit here and bang the drum and pretend like, oh, he's this top 5 quarterback in the NFL, because I don't believe it, but he can have top 5 fantasy games. The wide receiver room, when healthy, is really good. They have George Kittle, they have McCaffrey, who's a great dump-off target for Brock Purdy, so I feel very confident in Brock Purdy's ability, and I think he should be ranked inside the top 10, and he's just not. He should be a guy that's drafted as a QB1, but on a lot of teams, Brock Purdy is going to get drafted as someone's backup quarterback and just sit on the bench the whole year because they drafted Joe Burrow on Brock Purdy, which makes absolutely no sense. After Brock Purdy, Jaden Higgins, Zach Charbonnet, Jordan Love Me Tender, Love Me Sweet, the Eagles defense, Tucker Kraft, Mac and Cheese, J.K. Dobbins, Dallas Goedert, Ramondre Stevenson, Colston Loveland, Caleb Williams, C.J. Stroud, Keon Coleman, Kyle Pitts, everyone's favorite tight end, and Brandon Aubrey. Do not draft the defense or kicker before the last 2 picks of the draft. If you wanted to reach to get your defense that you really love for week 1 at the 12th round, fine. But definitely don't take one in like the 9th round, the 10th round, and we do see people do that a lot. We're going to explain our defense strategy later. If you are newer to the channel, make sure you guys do subscribe, hit that like button. We stream defenses over here, and we will explain that. And if you've already heard me explain it, you could just fast forward through it once we ultimately get there. So we have our tight end in Evan Ingram, who I'm confident in. No need to draft a backup tight end. We have Brock Purdy. Some people might not be as confident. If you wanted to take Justin Fields, that's fine. I'm fine with drafting 2 quarterbacks. I'm just not fine with drafting 2 quarterbacks when you already pay the piper and get Josh Allen in the 3rd round, and then you take, Caleb Williams in the 11th round. It just doesn't very much make any sense. The one problem, though, with that is if you take Brock Purdy and Justin Fields, right, you need to make sure your second quarterback has a different bye week, obviously, because you don't want to get to week 14 when Purdy's on a bye, and I know that, Justin Fields isn't on bye that week, but say you take Drake May and Brock Purdy, now you have to drop one of them, and you also have that extra added stress every week of, oh my God, which quarterback should I start? Whereas if you just have Brock Purdy, you're just going to stick with Brock Purdy every single week. So looking at wide receivers, I'm Rashid Shaheed, who actually looked like the better wide receiver on the team even when Chris Olave was healthy. But the quarterback situation's a disaster. I still do like him, though. Kyle Williams looked pretty good. Now, the targets didn't necessarily work out for him, but he did look open out there when I was watching the game. I like Christian Kirk a decent amount. Trey Harris is just a dead pick, in my opinion. No need to take Trey Harris now that Keenan Allen's there. I think Keenan Allen's ADP will probably be around this range, the 10th or the 11th round, so I would be fine taking Keenan Allen here. I would be fine going running back as well, but I think since we have Pickens, we have, Adams is a little bit older. Maybe there's more in injury risk with him. So I think the smart move here would be to go with a wide receiver. So we're going to go ahead and draft Rashid Shaheed. Definitely risky, right? I don't think there's much safety in Rashid Shaheed. He's not like wrapping a condom over your fantasy football roster, wrapping that Trojan around that thing. But the upside is there. He could literally score 25 plus points in any given game. After Shaheed, we see Jake Ferguson, bunch of defenses, a bunch of kickers. And we will close this draft out we'll go with the second quarterback. We'll appease the 2 quarterback gods. Because sometimes I like to take 2 quarterbacks, and we'll do that. We'll take Justin Fields here. It's not a rule of thumb that you have to. I don't necessarily always do it. I also don't always not do it, right? So after Justin Fields, a bunch of defenses, Jaden Bonnie Blue, who got hurt, sadly, Tajay Spears, Trey Harris, Drizzy Drake May, Tank Bigsby, Marvin Mims, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, JJ McCarthy, and a bunch of defenses as well. First, we're going to go ahead and get our kicker. And did you guys see the Jaguars kicker? Can you type in Jag? What the fuck? Jag, just another guy. Jacksonville? Maybe it's like this on here. Now, why would you be able to search for a team on here, right? Did he already get drafted? That dude who kicked the ball, whose name is escaping me right now, his name is John Cena. His name is Cam Little. That motherfucker drilled a kick from 70 yards. From 70 yards. From the parking lot. He literally was out of the stadium. Remember in Forrest Gump when Forrest Gump runs out of the stadium after scoring a touchdown? That's where Cam Little was, and he still kicked that bitch through the uprights. That was awesome to see. But we're going to go ahead and go with my old bitch lame, but my young Hoku. After him, Rachaad White, who got banged up, wouldn't be drafting him. Zach Ertz, Cam Ward, Rashad Master, Bateman, Luther Burden, Christian Kirk, Kyle Williams, the 49ers defense. Now we're going to take our defense. And taking a defense is very simple. All you have to do is figure out who they're playing in week 1 and draft a defense based off that. The Chiefs, guess who the Chiefs are playing? Drum roll, please. They're playing the Chargers. I don't want to go with the Chiefs defense, even though I think the Chiefs do have one of the better defenses. The Bucs, they're going up against the Atlanta Falcons. That would be a fine draft pick to me. The Seahawks going up against the 49ers. That's a big fat no. Packers up against the Lions, no. Jets up against the Steelers. Could be fine. I think that will be fine. The Patriots go up against the Raiders. That's also a good one in my opinion. The Rams, though, are my favorite, going up against the Houston Texans with a offensive line that is a turnstile up against one of the better defensive lines in the NFL. I think the Rams have a big mismatch, and the Rams are a must-draft defense. So, to recap our squad, the draft has been complete. Our quarterback is Brock Purdy. Our running backs are Josh Jacobs and Kyren Williams. Our receiver is Malik Neighbors and Devontae Adams. Our tight end is Evan Ingram. Our flex is George Pickens. Our kicker is Young Hoku. Our defense is LA Rams. Our bench is comprised of Trayvon Henderson, Stephon Diggs, Jordan, the numbers Mason. What do they mean? As well as Rashid Shaheed and Justin Fields. The draft board is on your screen right now. My team is here at Team 8. It is highlighted, so if you wanted to look at any of those teams, go right ahead. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoying, make sure you hit that subscribe button like it owes you some money. Leave a like on today's video. It helped me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. Check out one of the videos on your screen if you haven't seen them already, and make sure you guys do check out Underdog. Promo code Notorious. Get that free pick. Get that first time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Get my draft guide for just a deposit of $10. If you just want my draft guide in general, you're already on Underdog, you don't want to go on Underdog, then you can check it out in the Patreon link in the video description for $12.50. Make sure you guys do do check that out. I love you long time. Have a great one. As always, good boy.